It started like any other morning. I was sipping my coffee, watching the mist roll off the pasture behind my little farmhouse in Pinewood Hollow. The sun had barely peeked over the ridge when I noticed something strange. My rabbit feed bin, the one I just filled the day before, was noticeably lighter. Again. Now, I raise Flemish giant rabbits. Big, fluffy, attitude-packed creatures. Sweet as syrup with me and the kids, but territorial as heck with strangers. And let me tell you, not even 6 of them could chow down 20 pounds of feed overnight. At first, I thought maybe it was raccoons. But I knew better. Deep down, I had a strong hunch. It was Deborah. Deborah Langford, president of the HOA and self-appointed queen of the block. The woman wore her power like a crown and strutted around with a clipboard like it was a sword. She and I had history. 2 months back, she stormed onto my property uninvited and claimed my rabbit hutch violated aesthetic harmony. She also didn't like that I used a storage bin for feed. Said it was an unapproved structure. When I asked her to cite the regulation, she changed the subject and stormed off. Since then, my feed had gone missing 3 times. Always small amounts. Never enough to scream theft, but enough for someone like me to notice. So I set up an old trail cam I used during deer season. Cleaned it, mounted it, and aimed it square at the bin. Next morning, there she was. Deborah. Caught in full HD. Wearing floral pajamas and flip-flops at dawn. Sneaking into my yard with a reusable tote bag. She popped open the lid like it was hers and scooped out my rabbit feed like she was shopping bulk granola. I didn't confront her. Not yet. See, I had a secret weapon. His name was Tank. A 22-pound Flemish buck rabbit with the personality of a junkyard dog. Gentle with family, but if a stranger got close to the hutch, he thumped loud enough to make your knees buckle. Once chased off a stray pit bull. So I got clever. Rigged the hutch latch so it would release Tank if someone opened the bin during his morning roaming hours. The plan was simple. Let Deborah do what she always does. And let Tank do what he does best. 2 days passed. Then, on the 3rd morning, I heard the feed bin creak. I peeked through the kitchen window and sure enough, there she was. Deborah bent over the bin, scoop in hand. Then came the sound of the latch. And like a cannonball, Tank exploded from the hutch. Deborah let out a scream so loud it scared a flock of crows out of the trees. Tank charged with ears back and paws pounding like thunder. She tripped, fell into my rose bushes, and dropped her tote bag as she scrambled back toward the HOA fence. One of her slippers got stuck in the mesh. Tank stood his ground like a fuzzy bouncer. I didn't say a word. Just stood on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the show. I thought that would be the end of it. But no. Deborah didn't come back with an apology. She came back with a violation notice. Claimed I was improperly housing livestock. Had an unapproved container. And get this, causing a public safety concern with an aggressive animal. That was the final straw. I started hearing whispers from neighbors. Deborah was trying to push an emergency HOA amendment weight limit on backyard pets. Anything over 10 pounds would be labeled livestock. That meant Tank, large dogs, even some cats. It wasn't about rules anymore. It was personal. A power play. She wanted to force me to get rid of Tank just to save face. But she miscalculated. Because the trail cam footage. Oh, it leaked. One of the board members, Kelly, who'd been quietly fed up with Deborah for months, shared it on the neighborhood Facebook group. It went viral. They titled it, "Attack Rabbit vs. HOA Tyrant." Neighbors who never spoke up before suddenly found their voices. Turns out, Deborah had fined people for things like wind chimes and vegetable gardens. She'd made a lot of enemies, and the rabbit video lit the match. By the time the next HOA meeting rolled around, people showed up like it was a town hall revolt. Deborah tried to push the amendment, but Kelly stood up, phone in hand, and played the video. Then another neighbor shared their story. And another. And another. The room turned. People called for a vote. Not just on the amendment, but on Deborah herself. Within the hour, she was voted out. Replaced by Linda, the same neighbor who used to be too afraid to grow tomatoes in her front yard. Peace returned to Pinewood Hollow. Tank got his own neighborhood security sign. Someone even made him stickers. And Deborah, she moved out a few weeks later. No goodbye. Just a U-Haul and a silent street. So the next time someone tries to steal your peace, remember, sometimes all it takes is a rabbit with attitude and a community ready to say, enough. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or a petty neighbor? Let's talk about it.